Hey guys, Ed over here at FICMRepair. Repair. What's our deluxe cable kit all about? So, great question. Thank you very much. Is this more than the big 3 upgrade? Yes, it is. Why? Because this is a dual battery truck, right? Our diesels take 2 group size 65 batteries to get that puppy to go. And why do diesels take 2 batteries anyway? It's because we're trying to overcome the crazy compression that's inside a diesel motor, and using a lot of amps to make that happen. And so this cable kit is in deference to the fact that it's a lot of amps to make this happen. And so why would you get this cable kit? Well, you get this cable kit because you've rightfully read that, or seen or watched a video from us that said that, hey, the stock alternator is ridiculously too small for the application, and so you want to get something bigger, like our 240 amp alternator that does 190 at cold idle instead of just the 75 amps that the stocker one does. And the problem is you've got a glow plug draw, 230 amps, that's pulsating draw for as long as 2 minutes after ignition, and so you're going through batteries like candy. And you're going ahead and you're burning out alternators, and you're going through FICMs, and so we don't want this. And so what do we have from Ford? We only have an 8-gauge cable hanging off the back of the alternator, which is just too bloody small for a properly sized up alternator. So your stock alternator does 75 amps at cold idle, right? And the 8-gauge cable is fine for that, but if you go ahead and you pick up a properly sized alternator, it really isn't. So the 240 amp alternator from us just makes so much more sense. It's 190 amps at cold idle. The problem is the 8-gauge cable from Ford can't hang. So what do you have to do? You have to augment the cabling. So you can do this a couple of different ways. You can get our basic cable kit, and the basic cable kit just adds, doesn't replace the factory's wiring at all. None of our cable kits do. Well, it's not unilateral true, but it's not true in this case. But you add a 1/0 cable to the existing 8-gauge cable from Ford, and off the charge stud of the alternator, and then that goes into this little fuse block with a fuse, that little dude right there, right? And just uses an A&L style fuse block, a fuse the same type that the car stereo guys use. There's a method to the madness there, because it's just a more readily available fuse in case you do something stupid and you blow that fuse. And then another 1/0 cable leaves there, and it goes to the positive stud of the passenger side battery. Great. Well, then you've got a 1/0 cable that goes from one of the mounting bolts of the alternator, common to the driver's side one, over to a grounding spot. Also great. Well, that's our basic cable kit. Perfect. But aren't there some other problems that you probably want to solve? Yes. There is a 1,350 amp inrush current in order to get the starter to begin spinning. That is a lot of juice. I don't care who you are. It's a lot of juice. And so what you do is you say, hey, that's a lot of juice. I don't want to just go ahead and have my 2/0 cable that comes up from the starter and attaches just to the passenger side battery. I don't want to give that passenger side battery all the work. I want to go ahead and have the driver side battery do more of its job. And you're like, well, hold on a second. There's an interconnect there already from Ford, and that's already doing the job. No, not really. It's only a 2-gauge cable, and 2 gauge is too small. It's kind of like drinking out of a straw or breathing out of a straw after you're in a marathon. It's just not going to end well. And so 1,350 amps inrush is a lot, and as an amp is an amp is an amp. We had somebody else in their comments say, well, these are different amps because it's DC. It's not like your house where it's AC. No, I'm sorry, that's wrong. An amp is an amp is an amp. So 1,350 amps inrush is a tremendous amount of juice. Think of flipping on a vacuum cleaner in your house and you see the lights dim. That exact same concept holds true here, right? And so you overlay a 4/0 cable, which is 6.5 times more copper than Ford's 2-gauge, and now you're like, okay, now we're cooking with gas, except that electrons travel from the negative to the positive instead of the positive to the negative, and so just adding that one cable isn't good enough. So you have to add a 1/0 cable, a shorty, from the driver's side cylinder head to the driver's side frame. And when you do that, now you've given the electrons a place to go. Because of the shortness of the wire difference, a 1/0 cable does it for us, no problem at all. And now you've load balanced your batteries ridiculously better, and your batteries will last longer as a result, and your starter will get more juice, which means it'll start faster. So your batteries are load balanced better, yay. Your depth of discharge on the passenger side battery isn't nearly what it would have been, yay. So that battery's going to last longer, and your alternator's not nearly as pissed off as it would have been, because now it's not pushing against only an 8-gauge wire. So yay there, and you're not going to have a truck fire because some of these things you probably would, very frankly, and so yay there. And then last but not least, and probably the most important, is that there's a 1/0 cable from the driver's side cylinder head to the driver's side frame. By the way, there's already a hole there that's drilled and tapped in the front. And So that one it's a two service type thing. Service number one is it gives the electrons a place to go as far as load balancing the batteries better, but the far more important thing is it allows the electrons not to seek a path to ground through the bell housing of the transmission, which, by the way, is the number one reason why the torque converter, yes, the torque converter, if you have 6 guys, you don't care about this, but the 5R110 guys absolutely do. The torque converter likes to weld itself to the front pump. Oh my goodness. And so if you go ahead and you add this cable kit, that solves all these problems. And you couple this with a product called No-Ox ID on our website on FICMRepair.com, and that's an electrically conductive grease, exactly the opposite of dielectric. It is not an insulator, it's a conductor, and life is good for you. So no, this is not just a big 3 upgrade. It solves the problems of giving the electrons a place to go. It solves the problems of your batteries not being very well load balanced, and it solves the problem of potentially having your torque converter weld itself to the front pump. Great question. Thank you so much. FICMRepair.com. We're all in this together. Thank you guys.